Alright, let me explain. I, 45 female, am a widow with 4 kids. 22 female, 14 male, 13 male, and 11 female. My oldest, Sarah, is a model. She started when she was young and has kept at it, becoming a professional once she became an adult. Recently, she called me very excitedly to report that she'd gotten an offer to be a model for Victoria's Secret. She works with a reputable talent agency that I won't name for privacy, so I'm reasonably confident it is a legitimate offer. I congratulated her on her work, but warned her that if she took the job, I would be forced to disown her. She was confused and upset, so I explained to her that her taking such a job would harm her younger siblings. While I recognize that pee is more easily accessible for boys than it used to be, underwear models, especially lingerie, are still a source of arousal. Especially if she winds up doing that catwalk event they have, or getting put on posters or pop-up ads. It will open her little brothers up to a world of teasing and torment if their friends find out what their big sister does. And it's a small town, so they will recognize her. And what about her little sister? Obviously, she's too young to be worrying about looks. But what if she doesn't become as beautiful as Sarah? What will that do to her self-esteem to know that she has to work hard while her big sister gets by just by looking pretty? I told Sarah all of this and explained that I would never forbid her from doing something. It's fine if she decides that that job is what's best for her future. But I had to think about what was best for the future of my other children, and that what's best for them is not having their underwear model big sister in town to cause them problems. She took it harder than I had hoped, and has turned her father's family and some of my family against me. Apparently, she made some calls to see if the rest of the family shared my stance, and she sent a text apologizing for them getting angry at me, and is largely ignoring me now. So, I'm here to see if I'm in the minority here, I suppose. You're the a-hole. You're sacrificing the future of one of your children instead of teaching your other kids important lessons. You're the a-hole. You sound a little confused about what Victoria's Secret is. It's a completely reputable underwear and lingerie store. They do not make pee. Your concerns about other children simply don't hold water. Sarah does not get by just by looking pretty. She's doing a job in a notoriously tough industry, and by the sound of it, doing well. Good for her. You're the a-hole. Holy heck are you the a-hole. You are welcome to your morals and values, as well as your beliefs. Your daughter, who is of legal age and consent, has an opportunity to have a huge break in doing something she loves, and you want to disown her because you don't agree. She did not turn any family against you. She shared facts, and they came to their own conclusions. It sounds like she was excited to share her success with her mom, who told her she would disown her, and now you are acting as a victim. My sister, C, 29, and I, 25, grew up comfortable. We have trust set up for us from our grandparents, and our parents were well off. We had our entire undergraduate educations paid off by our father, and we both graduated debt-free. C studied abroad in Germany when she was 20 for a semester, and got very close to our father's friend's son D, 36, while there. He's an only child from a very successful family, and is well off in his own right. D is obsessed with C. He moved to the US for her. His family paid for her dream wedding, and he paid for her MBA. They have one child together. I got married during college to my high school sweetheart, M, 25. M and I live more humbly than C and D. We have 2 toddlers and try to save as much as we can for their futures. I do not work and am going to school for my master's, so we have less disposable income. Dad gave C and I a home each as our wedding presents. He owns a few other properties, and C has been managing them since she was in college. I was asked if I wanted to manage them when I started college, but I was never interested. C has redecorated most of them, and the entire family has access to them for vacations. We are all currently spending the holidays with our parents. Yesterday, Dad sat C and I down with our husbands to discuss updating his will. Now that both C and I have access to our trusts and no longer need guardians, should anything happen to our parents, our father wants to explicitly state which properties would go to which daughter. He said that since C has been managing the properties since she was 18, she would get one more property than me. He has an odd number, and will get to pick a couple that she wants with no pushback. C said that she wasn't too picky about which she would get, but did want one specific property. She then stated that I should get our father's French home, since D's family already had property there that they were inheriting. It felt like she was rubbing it in my face that she has more money than M and I do. I said it was unfair that she was dictating what I should be getting, and that because she already has so much, M and I should get a larger portion of my father's inheritance. Dad said that he wanted to divide everything up equally, but I countered that C would end up on top when he died, regardless of if she was given less than me or not, because of D's inheritance. I said that C already got everything she wanted in life, and that it should be my turn. I then suggested that he divide the property for the grandchildren equally instead. But he didn't want to, as he only cared about providing for his kids and that it was our responsibility to care for ours. We exchanged some heated words before Emma and I left. Mom says I was being selfish and that our dad was being fair, but I think he's playing favorites since C married his friend's son and is more successful. I just want to be on the same playing field as C. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You sound like a whiny entitled brat. Your father can do whatever the hell he wants with his money. Your sister did the work while you sat on your butt, and it's not like you were suffering in a hovel somewhere and eating beans out of a can. Yeah, you're the a-hole. If all that interests you is the money, you should have married a rich man too. You are being jealous. C gets benefits because she actually worked for it. Your mom is right. So you're arguing over how many properties you get to inherit, while you don't work and do your masters paid for by your trust fund. But you live humbly and think it's your turn to get something in life. You're the a-hole. Why do you think your sister should be punished because her husband is rich? That's not how inheritances work. Why do you think you're so entitled to your parents' assets and what they do with them? Oh wait, I can guess why. I redrafted my will recently, leaving almost everything to my daughter. I have a daughter and a son. I've been a widower for quite some time now. I feel a bit silly soliciting this advice from the general public, but I've been concerned that my actions may not be justified, and I'm trying to see if I've made a mistake. My daughter is 29 and we are very close. She calls me about twice a week and visits once a year. She had a great deal of schooling and is in the last year of her PhD. She's very beautiful. However, she's had hospitalizations and one arrest in the past. Over the course of her life, with all the music lessons and sports, and the years of private education, rent, and various expenses, she has cost me a few $1,000,000. She has destroyed hotel rooms and needed my help much more often than her brother has. Ever since she was a small child, she has had the ability to make me more angry than any other person on earth. But also, when she is pleasant, she makes me indescribably joyous. She is a brilliant person, and I want to support her any way I can. So she has had carte blanche with my credit card for a decade. She is recently married and has announced plans to become pregnant in the next year. I approve of her husband, who seems to be a good provider. My son is 31 and has been married for several years with stable employment. He did not pursue any postgraduate studies. He has a stable, although middle-earning job. I assisted him and his wife by purchasing a local condominium. I charged them only the mortgage, which is much less than they would have to pay if renting in a similarly attractive neighborhood. He and his wife don't intend to have children. My daughter approached me recently and told me about her plans to make a family. She had documents showing that raising a child is projected to cost over $300,000 total by the age of 18, and she talked to me about her philosophy of child rearing, in which case it would be much more expensive. She argued that she should receive more in my will because she will have my grandchild, whereas her brother will not have dependents. I agreed. My son was visiting recently and we talked about his sister's plan to have a baby. I mentioned my will, as I am in ill health. I told him that the family homes and my savings and stocks would go to his sister, and I would sign the condo over to him. He will also get a few pieces of art. I originally did not want to give the homes to her because she would struggle to handle the logistics of selling the house. But her husband is a bright young man, and he can help her. I trust him to handle the sale on her behalf. My son became upset and said I was practicing favoritism. I don't think I was, because his sister has more need for the estate. That is why I'm asking whether people think this was a reasonable decision. Am I the a-hole? You do what you want with your money, it's yours. But don't be surprised if you don't see your son on your deathbed. This is a personal decision to favor your daughter. You've shown she is the only one for you. Don't be surprised if you never see your son again. Wow, I am heartbroken for your son. You are enabling a master manipulator. The money you've forked over to a spoiled brat is appalling. Do you have no shame for the favoritism you've shown? I'm appalled, truly shocked. You are lucky your son has anything to do with you. You're the a-hole, regardless of your will. You created an economical dependent child, and when you pass away, she will most likely burn through the cash left to her and have a hard crash when she runs out of money. Growing up, my 23 female aunt, now 45 female, was child-free in the sense that she actively didn't like children and would avoid coming to events that had children. She would tell my brother and I that children are dirty and scream and annoy everybody until they learn to act like adults, which I guess isn't wrong, but still hurtful for us to hear as elementary schoolers. What I found the worst about my aunt was how she used to talk about my mom, her older sister. My mom has been single since my dad abandoned us for his affair partner. I've overheard my aunt commenting that my mom's selfish for having children and promiscuous, and our dad probably isn't even our real dad, which is why he left my mom. When I was 10, I finally told my mom about these comments. She refused to keep us in the same room as our aunt, and we've really had no relationship with her. When I was 11, my aunt moved from the same neighborhood as my mom and grandparents to a house in the country about 2 hours away, and I had no real contact with her for the next 7 years. When I was 18, my aunt started trying to reestablish a relationship with me, but I kept my contact with her low. I've been working for a few years and have saved enough money to rent my own apartment. This year, my aunt was hit by a car, and she has a whole slew of health problems. Because of that, she's been needing to visit the hospital frequently and will need to start physical therapy. Her house is really far from most health facilities, and because she lives alone, she hasn't got anybody to take her back and forth every day. She doesn't have the money to buy a new house in a more convenient location, and she doesn't want to sell her current house because it has lots of land for her dogs, and she wants to continue living there when she gets better. The rest of my family lives in the city and can access all sorts of health facilities much easier. My brother lives at college. My grandparents have moved in with my mom, who's still angry at my aunt and refuses to talk to her. That leaves me. Because I was hesitant and not outright rejecting contact with my aunt, she thinks she still has a chance to live with me. There's two major issues with this. One, my aunt has 2 dogs that she adores, and I don't want to take care of them while she's still recovering. And 2, I don't really like my aunt and don't want her living with me. I'm afraid that a relationship would cause a divide in the family. I'm also worried she'll find out things about me and gossip about it like she did with my mom. Fundamentally, if I had a closer relationship with my aunt in my childhood, I might have considered it. But because of her justifying being cruel by her child-freeness, I don't think I'm going to make this accommodation for her. I told her as much, and she called me an a-hole for abandoning her when she's vulnerable. My mom and brother support me, but my grandparents told me to just go along with it so that we can all stop fighting. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You should just tell her that people recovering from injuries are dirty and scream and annoy everybody until they can take care of themselves again. You reap what you sow, Auntie. Because she lives alone, she hasn't got anybody to take her back and forth every day. Well, that's because she sucks. You reap what you sow. Children are just people. There's no excuse to treat them like crap. She seems to just be a crappy person to be around in general. She made her bed. Not the a-hole. She chose not to build a relationship with you as a child. She doesn't get to suddenly change that because now she needs something from you. You have zero obligation towards her. My ex and I had our child very young and split up when I was a few months pregnant, and my ex came out. He has always supported our child, and he's an amazing parent. We co-parent and really have no issues at all. He also has an amazing partner who he has been with for the last 10 years. We split up 17 years ago, and they're currently planning their wedding. It took them a while to get to a stable place financially, owning their own home and cars, which is what they wanted to do before they tied the knot. X is really creative, and his original idea for his wedding attire was to have a wedding gown tailored into a suit with illusion sleeves, off the shoulder, and whatever else. Weird, but that's his choice. Now he's done a complete backflip and wants to wear an actual dress. According to him, the dress he ended up choosing is a mermaid style, and it would look tacky to have that bottom made into pants, and he really wants to keep the shape, so he's not changing it at all. I've told him I'm no longer comfortable with our son attending the wedding because he doesn't need to see his father dancing around in a dress all night. I feel like it would have been fine if he stuck to his original idea. I just feel like this could be embarrassing for my son, as he was granted permission to take a few of his friends by his father and his fiancée, and kids can be cruel, especially seeing his father, a 6-foot muscular man with facial hair squeezed into a tight-fitting dress with a tiara. My ex says I'm a complete a-hole for withholding our son from him on such a special day, and that he felt like we were still good enough friends that we'd both be there. Our son still wants to attend, but he's only 17, and I don't feel like he fully understands how that could impact his social life at school. Even if his friends didn't attend, I feel like it would be a bad influence on him. He's never been overly affectionate with his partner around our son, nor has he been overly feminine around him. Am I the a-hole? So, I get the discomfort on your part. I do. But it's 100% not your business. As you've said, Dad has been a great co-parent and very involved in the child's life. I'll take that to mean Dad has joint legal custody and a good share of physical custody. Whether the wedding is scheduled on one of your custody days or Dad's, this is the dad's wedding day. Of course, the kid is going to be there. The kid wants to be, and he should be. You can't ban a 17-year-old from attending his father's wedding, legally or ethically. Dad can just file pro se, probably win, and you're going to look like a massive a-hole to everyone involved. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. The only issue I see is your own discomfort, which has nothing to do with your son and his father. You're well on your way to a 2-for-1 on family who decide to go no contact with you. Is this the hill you really want to die on? You're the a-hole. Maybe your ex never showed this side of himself because he thought you'd be judgmental about it. A wedding is a big event. Your son is nearly a legal adult. He's old enough to understand and accept what is happening. Why aren't you?